Hello, my name is Shantel, and I've been in recovery from self-harm and depression for 4 months. I'm going to share my story with you today because I just want people to know that there is hope and it is possible to recover. It's hard, but it's worth it. I mean, hard is an understatement. It is one of the most difficult and bravest things I've ever done in my life. And it's just something that I really hope that can inspire people and just show them that everything works out in the end. You just have to hold on. Well, before I go too in-depth with my recovery story, I'm going to give you some background information, sort of like a little bit from my childhood and a little bit of what led up to my self-harm and depression, and my childhood played a huge factor in that. Okay, well, when I was little, my father was an alcoholic, and my mother, she worked 2 jobs and she was never home, and she just really wasn't a mother. Like, she would always use working as an excuse, but she just didn't know how to be a mother. But when I was 3 years old, I watched my father get arrested 2 days before Thanksgiving. It seems like something I wouldn't remember, being I was so young, but I remember exactly what I was wearing, exactly what the air smelled like, exactly what happened. I know details, like something, it amazes me like how much I actually remember of it. I remember watching the cops beat up my dad, like toss him around, and I remember them shoving him in the cop car, and I remember him saying that I wasn't ever gonna see him again. And I remember I was wearing this black dress that I always wore when I was little, and it had pink and purple roses on it, and it was my favorite dress, and I was wearing it that day. And I remember my mom was there, and so was my Aunt Heather. And it was just such a traumatic experience. I was crying so much because I was watching the cops like beat my dad, and I was watching them shove him in the car and pulling away with my dad at 3 years old. But after my dad got out of jail, he just sobered up. Like, to this day, like, he hasn't had any alcohol at all. Like, he hasn't drank in 9 or 10 years. So I'm really proud of him. But my mom played a huge role in my depression and self-harm. My mother has never been dependable. She hasn't really even been a mom, but I love her. And she always had a habit of choosing men over me. And that really hurt me. Like, that always made me feel so unwanted, and like I was never good enough. And it's crazy being only like 7 or 9, like between the ages like 7, 8, and 9, and you're feeling that way, like you're not good enough for your own mother, and like still feeling like that to this day. And she would leave me and she would pawn me off on people a lot. She left me at my cousin's house so she could go bar hopping on the one weekend that she had me. And it was so terrible. I remember that night as well. I was crying until 4:30 in the morning because my mom forgot about me, and when she came and got me, she was wasted. Knowing how traumatic my childhood was for me, and how I remembered it so much, and my dad drinking, and how much I hated alcohol, she got drunk the one weekend that she had me. And that was just something that was really hard for me. It was, I don't know. It was something that it will just stick with me. And my mom was the type of person that would like to put on a show. She would always act like a good mother in front of people, but behind closed doors, I wasn't her daughter, I was her servant. I had to get stuff for her because she was too lazy to get up, or something like that. And daughters shouldn't be treated like that. If anything, it should be the mother doing that for the daughters. And it was, my mom just didn't know how to be a mom. My dad has raised me. I've been living with my dad since I was little. And my mom just played such a huge role in my depression, as well as bullying. Bullying was a big deal for me. I was bullied ever since I started school. I was picked on so bad that they would take my lunch money and tell me I was too fat for it and I didn't need lunch anyways. Or they would throw my tray on me and tell me that I was too fat for it. And they would come up with these names, like 2 of them that I remember that were the most common were Fatel and Shan Fatty. And it was just a terrible experience for me, and I would come home crying. And just bullying is like just so terrible. Like, people don't realize like how big of an effect it has on someone. And like to this day, like I'm still bullied. But it's not easy to brush it off for me. Like, some people can handle it a lot better, but my self-esteem is already so low, and just being reminded of the things that I already think about myself from different people is just so hard for me to recover from. Like, they make recovery so hard for me. And what led up to my recovery, like, besides those events, like, what actually, like, engaged it was, October 27th, 2013, I planned on committing suicide. I was just so tired, and I was done. I just gave up. Like, I just couldn't deal anymore. And I attempted, like, before that, but it was just something where I just wanted it to be for sure, and I just wanted it to be over for good, so I was going to make sure that was going to happen. And I was writing notes. I had written notes for my mom, my dad, and my close friends. And I told one of my friends, I gave my friend the note early because I knew otherwise she wasn't going to get it, because my parents just don't approve of her. They don't like her, and her parents don't like me. But we've been friends, like close friends, since the 3rd grade. And I told her, and she was so concerned for me, and she went to the principal's office to stop me. And the principal called my dad, and I was in my room when they called. It was right after school, and after they called, my dad called me out, and he isn't the type to just easily to I don't know, to sugarcoat things. So like, he just came out and asked me, were you gonna kill yourself? And I just bursted into tears, and I bursted into tears not because he knew what I wanted to do or what I was going to do, but because I was going to have to explain why. And I was going to have to let out emotions that had been bottled up for 3 years in one day. And that was a lot. That's a lot to take for anyone. And my cell phone has been a secret, minus a few people, for years, up until October 27th. And I'm from a small town, so when I was taken out of school, I was taken out of school and put into tutoring for 4 months. And because I was taken out, everyone was asking questions, and in a small town, things get around very fast. So everyone pretty much figured out why I was out. And it was just tough because I would get looks, and when I went back to school it was even worse. And I've been in school for a little over a month now. And it was really hard. Like, just the looks that they would give you, like you were a creature. And it would just make you feel so terrible, like, just because they would just look down on you because you were just so finished. Like, you were just tired, and just because you had your problems, they were just, there's very judgmental people in this town. It lacks diversity. There is not a lot of artistic people in this town, and I am very artistic. Like, you really can't see it because my video quality is so bad, but my hair is blue on top. And just like, even because of my hair and my clothes, like, they even treat me differently. Like, I'm weird because I'm not like them, because I don't like to hunt or fish or listen to country music. I'm my own person, and they just don't know how to handle that. And there's a lot of people who don't listen to country music in this town, or don't hunt or fish, but you're still treated differently if you're not like everyone else. And it's just something that it's not being acted upon by any school officials. It's really not. They say it is, but if it was, things would be changing. People wouldn't be getting beat up. People wouldn't be getting bullied. And I know I wasn't the only one in that school being bullied. And I know I'm not the only one that's suffering from depression. And it just makes me so sad that maybe someone has to die for it to be acted upon in my school. And it shouldn't be that way. It really shouldn't. Someone shouldn't have to lose their life for it to be acted upon. It's so serious, and they just don't take it seriously. But that's a little story about my school. And I'm going to go more into depth about personally how my recovery has affected, like, my personal life, like, not just my school life. Well, it has affected my family a lot. My family looks at me differently now, which makes me upset because I don't want to be looked at differently. I'm still the same person, but I'm just not dealing with the same problem. I'm dealing with the same problems, but dealing with them in a different way. And I'm treated differently for that. They just look at me differently, and that's hard. Of course it's hard. But feelings can get hurt from it, and they just don't realize it. Especially with my father. But I know he loves me. But yeah. Art and music have helped me through so much. I can't even tell you how much they've helped me through. More so art. I'm artistically talented. I'm not really musically talented. But I do love music, and a lot of bands have helped me through. A lot of music in general actually have helped me through a lot. But one band in particular I would always listen to when I'm sad is Mice and Men. They are just so important to me. And Austin Carlisle, the lead singer, his story has just inspired me so much. How he was bullied and how he is just so successful, and he is just so important to me, and he is just an inspiration, and his quotes are just so inspirational. My favorite is "Life will never put you through more than you can handle." He just amazes me of how he looks at life, and I hope that someday I can look at life the way that he looks at it. But I'm going to talk a little bit about art now, and how huge art has affected me, even more so than music. I learned how to reflect my emotions into art. Somehow I was blessed with artistic talent, and I know that now. And drawing just helped me so much, and I'm actually going to show you a few pieces. I drew a portrait of Austin Carlisle a while ago, so it's actually not all that great, but it was my first portrait drawing, and it was a while ago, but it's something that I like because it's of him. This is the portrait that I drew, and it has a lot of meaning to me because I just like him so much, and he just inspires me so much, and he has inspired me artistically as well. As you could see, it was a surrealism piece, which means putting two real objects that would normally go together. And the rest of the drawing besides his face I could have done a lot better on it, so I apologize. But his face is on a mountain horizon, which was kind of combining two of my favorite bands, Bring Me to the Horizon of Mice and Men, kind of bringing them together, sort of thing. And this is a very emotional. Actually, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about my art before I show you this one. But during my self-harm and my depression, I had an art book that my art teacher gave me that she was going to be grading me on, and I would just doodle like how I was feeling, and like these doodles had so much emotion in them, and that was, instead of self-harming, I would just doodle, but sometimes doodling just couldn't take away the urge. But doodling was a way that I would kind of make myself feel better, and I would just doodle my emotions instead of taking them out on myself. And I put that into this piece. I made this collage of my drawings that I did from my doodles, and as well as a stay strong message. This is one of my doodles that I did, as well as this in the corner. And if you notice, I'll bring it a little closer. There's razor blades with angel wings, and they all flow from here down into the hand that's tied up, so it's like it's saving the hand. Kind of how I felt about self-harm, as well as these two doodles. This is a surrealism piece of a razor blade as a head, and how his shirt says relief. And this is a very sad drawing that I did. And the pictures, like, this and this have been printed out from my blog. And I just use my blog a lot to vent, and it's an anonymous blog, so a lot of people don't know that it's actually me. And yes, but a little bit more about my art is, while I'm recovering, I decided that I wanted to apply for an art school. So that's what I did. And during the process of my recovery, and I was still in tutoring at the time that I applied, I was creating so much art. I accomplished the 2 pieces that I showed you, and some others. I think between the 4 months, I think I completed about 10 pieces, and 2 of which included sculptures, and I had never done sculpture before, so those sculptures were huge for me, and I did that all in 4 months, and I made a portfolio for the art school, and I was accepted, which was fantastic. I can't even explain to you how amazing it was. Only 95 students that applied, and you could apply from anywhere in the U.S., got accepted to this school, and I was one of them. And it was grades 8 through 12, and that's a huge accomplishment. It's so amazing to see what I can do. And those drawings, compared to what I can do now, are quite different. I have improved in my skills just over a few months, and the Austin Carlisle portrait was one of my earlier drawings of that time, and now I am drawing things that some of my art classmates that are seniors aren't even doing. So it's pretty amazing to be 14 and creating things like this, and accomplishing so much and overcoming so much all at the same time. And it's just so very possible, and anyone else who is struggling with this just really just needs to look at life in a different way and get help. I know it's so hard to get help. I didn't get help on my own. Like, I was forced into it. But you can get help. It's not as hard as it seems. If you have like a guidance counselor at school, or a teacher you trust, or someone else, like just someone that you trust, and you can talk to them about it, especially if it's someone at school. It was like a staff member at school. Like, it is so good to talk to them, because they're going to be able to handle it a lot better than you are telling your parents, because telling your parents is going to be a lot scarier. It was so scary trying to explain everything that happened to my dad and my mom, and it was just so much for me, and it would be for anyone. So coming out about it is just, it's so hard, and it's so hard recovering, but it's so worth it. Everything is worth it. Just start to feel comfortable with yourself, to be comfortable in your own skin again, to feel like you're something, to feel like you have a future to look forward to feel like you have anything to look forward to feel like you have the next day to look forward to feel like everything's gonna be okay just for once, is just so relieving and so worth it. And you are beautiful, and you are strong, and you can do anything that you want. And depression, you can beat depression, and you can beat anxiety and anorexia and any other mental illness. You can do it. It's hard, but you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. I never thought I was strong, but now that I know, I'm strong. And I hope this means something to someone besides me. And I hope that you like it. This is the first video I've ever made about this, so I'm sorry if it's so bad, and I'm sorry if I stutter. I get nervous, and I apologize, but I just hope this inspires you. Bye.